All right, listen up. Seriously, I need to be completely, unflinchingly honest with you right now, because today isn't just another spin around the sun. If you've woken up thinking this is merely another run-of-the-mill Monday, a simple step in the continuum of your week, then we absolutely need to have a deeper conversation. Something truly monumental. A cosmic event of epic proportions is unfolding in the heavens above us today. April 20th. We're talking about Mercury and Mars aligning, colliding at the precise same degree in the fiery sign of Aries. Now, I understand that might sound like just another piece of astrological jargon, another fleeting planetary transit in the vastness of space. But let me tell you, what's truly seized my attention, what's sending shivers down my spine, is the profound context of this event. This isn't some isolated, random alignment. No, this is the roaring crescendo, the explosive climax of an energetic buildup that has been gathering momentum, simmering beneath the surface for weeks now. And I genuinely, with every fiber of my being, believe this is the exact tipping point. The watershed moment where everything you've been diligently holding back, every unspoken truth, every pent-up emotion, is about to come pouring out with an unstoppable force. If you've been feeling that gnawing sensation, that urgent, almost desperate need to voice something critical, yet you simply couldn't muster the bravery, couldn't find the right words, couldn't summon the internal fortitude, then please stay with me. There's a very specific, deeply rooted reason why that's been happening, and I'm about to meticulously unravel exactly why today is going to fundamentally redefine everything. But first, we need to rewind a little. I need to illuminate what has actually been transpiring behind the scenes, energetically speaking, because right now you might be unknowingly simmering in the most intense pressure cooker your entire year will serve up. And the unsettling truth is, most people are completely oblivious to the immense forces building within them. That relentless restlessness that's been dogging your steps, that simmering anger that keeps bubbling up from an unseen depth, the way words have stubbornly lodged themselves in your throat, refusing to be uttered for what feels like an eternity. There's a profound, interconnected reason for all of it, and honestly, it all snaps into crystal clear focus once you grasp the astrological dance that's been unfolding. The palpable build-up you've been experiencing, that undeniable sensation of impending release, it's profoundly real. Here's why it's not just in your head. So, let's peel back the layers. This potent Mercury, Mars conjunction that's dominating the sky today didn't just materialize out of thin air, a sudden cosmic surprise. Oh no, we have been steadily, inexorably building toward this precise moment since the very dawn of April. And if you've been even remotely attuned to your own energetic landscape lately, paying even a modicum of attention to your internal thermometer, you've undoubtedly already felt this intensification, this rising tide, within your very core. Cast your mind back to early April. The month kicked off with a potent full moon in the sign of Libra on April the 1st. I believe that celestial event was the universe's eloquent, undeniable way of holding up a mirror, showing you with perfect clarity exactly where the delicate scales of your relationships have tipped precariously out of balance. It highlighted where you've been pouring yourself out limitlessly, giving far too much, where you've been meekly accepting far too little, where the fundamental equilibrium of your connections is utterly, jarringly off kilter. Does that deep resonance strike a chord within you? Then, swiftly following that illumination, on April 9th, Mars, the fiery warrior planet, stormed into its home sign of Aries. And that is when the energetic temperature truly began to soar. Mars, in its purest essence, is the planet of action, courage, assertion, and primal drive. Aries, its natural domicile, is the embodiment of raw initiative, unbridled passion, and the fierce pioneering spirit. So, when Mars entered Aries, It wasn't just a planetary shift. It was like uncorking a genie of pure, unadulterated elemental fire. Suddenly, you might have felt this exhilarating, almost overwhelming surge of energy, this undeniable imperative to take decisive action, this urgent, almost desperate need to thrust yourself forward, to initiate, to move. Right? But here's where the narrative takes an intriguing turn, a twist I believe most people haven't quite grasped. Both Mars and Mercury, in their celestial journeys, had to first cross the ethereal veil of Neptune before they could finally converge. Mars made its transit across Neptune on April the 13th, a few days before Mercury followed suit on April 16th. And if you possess even a rudimentary understanding of Neptune's astrological influence, you know it's the planet of mists and shadows, of illusion, of beautiful, beguiling confusion. It governs all those enchanting, often self-deceptive stories we weave for ourselves, the comforting narratives we cling to, precisely to evade the harsh glare of uncomfortable, inconvenient truths. So, what has that meant for you, experientially? For the past few weeks, your vital energy might have felt inexplicably drained, as if siphoned away by an unseen force. Your thoughts might have been frustratingly clouded, your mental landscape shrouded in a persistent, hazy fog. Communication, particularly about anything significant, might have felt like an utterly impossible feat. You knew deep down that something absolutely needed to be articulated, needed to be said aloud. But every single time you tried to form the words, they seemed to dissolve into nothingness, like vapor, before they could even fully coalesce. It felt akin to trying to scream at the top of your lungs while submerged underwater, the sound muffled, distorted, utterly lost. Has that unsettling experience been haunting your recent days? And then, almost immediately after Mercury completed its Neptune crossing, we welcomed the invigorating energy of the new moon in Aries on April 17th, a promise of a fresh start, a potent new beginning, a clean slate. Yet, the intense pressure didn't relent there. Because on April 19th, merely yesterday, Mars, with all its fiery, unstoppable impetus, slammed into Saturn, the planet of immovable objects and unyielding reality. It was the quintessential cosmic showdown, the irresistible force meeting the immovable object. And I believe that was the precise moment when your frustration, your inner boiling point, reached its absolute, undeniable peak. Saturn, in its essence, is the cosmic taskmaster, the planet of restriction, limitation, structure, and the hard, undeniable realities of life. So, when Mars, with its pure fire, its urgent drive for action, its insatiable desire to push forward, collided head-on with Saturn's unyielding resistance, it didn't just create friction, it created a massive, almost impenetrable energetic blockage. Your plans suddenly stalled, progress ground to a jarring halt, and all that pent-up energy backed up within you like a mighty river dammed. If you've been feeling an almost unbearable, teeth-gritting frustration over the past 24 hours, now, finally, you understand the profound astrological reason why. Then, this very morning, Mercury, the planet of thought and communication, joined forces with Saturn too. And that, my friend, is when your swirling thoughts suddenly crystallized. That's when the persistent mental fog finally, abruptly cleared. That's when you suddenly perceived everything. Your situation, your relationships, your unspoken truths, with a brutal, unvarnished, undeniable clarity. The truth you've been skillfully avoiding, the reality you've been expertly sidestepping, it's now glaringly, inescapably, right there in front of you, utterly impossible to ignore. And today, right now, as you read this, is when Mercury and Mars finally meet in their fiery embrace. And when they do, I truly, deeply believe the dam holding back weeks of suppressed energy and truth is going to spectacularly burst open. The courage you've been yearning for, the audacity you've been patiently, perhaps agonizingly, waiting for, It arrives today. It's here. So, allow me to elaborate on the profound implications, the very real consequences, of what transpires when Mercury and Mars occupy the exact same degree within the fierce, uncompromising sign of the warrior. This isn't subtle energy, not a gentle whisper. This is explosive. Mercury, as you know, governs our intellect, our thought processes, our capacity to articulate and communicate. Mars, conversely, is the planet of action, of raw courage, of bold assertion. When these two dynamic forces fuse together in Aries, the sign that utterly disdains hesitation, refuses compromise, and never, ever looks back, something extraordinary happens. The vast chasm, the often paralyzing gap between merely thinking something and actually saying it completely, utterly vanishes. Your mind today is poised to operate with the cold, calculating precision of a military strategist. That agonizing lag time between recognizing a truth and fearlessly speaking it aloud. Gone. The self-imposed filter that usually intercepts and censors your authentic expression, preventing you from uttering what you really mean? Vanished. And that insidious fear of consequences, the very thing that often keeps us silent. I genuinely believe, for a significant number of people, it's just going to evaporate, like morning mist in the rising sun. Now, am I unequivocally stating that everyone is suddenly going to transform into a fearless orator, shouting their deepest truths from the highest rooftops? No, I cannot guarantee that with absolute certainty. But what I can declare with conviction is this. If there is something, anything you have been desperately needing to articulate, whether to yourself, to another soul, or to the world at large, today is the day you will finally, irrevocably, discover the profound courage to say it. And frankly, I felt this powerful current building within my own being, too. But here's the crucial nuance, the truly profound insight I need you to grasp, because this was a major aha moment for me. This surge of courage isn't reckless. It's not blind, uncontrolled rage. It's not impulsive, thoughtless shouting. Why? Because Saturn, the planet of structure and consequence, is precisely there, at the very same degree, acting as a cosmic anchor. This is disciplined courage. This is truth, forged and backed by absolute unwavering clarity. You know that profoundly liberating feeling when you finally perceive the entire picture, when all the disparate pieces of a complex puzzle suddenly click into perfect, undeniable place, and you grasp with startling precision exactly what has been unfolding. That, my friend, is the potent, illuminating energy of today. Because the specific degree where Mercury and Mars make their explosive rendezvous corresponds to the ancient wisdom of the Sabian symbol, a crystal gazer. Imagine someone peering into a shimmering crystal ball, seeing reality not through the distortions of ego or emotion, but with perfect, objective, unvarnished clarity. So, the words that will surge forth from you today aren't going to emanate from raw emotion alone. I believe they will issue forth from a place of profound, undeniable knowing. You will perceive your situation, your relationships, the very trajectory of your life, with such pristine, irrefutable vision that speaking the truth becomes not merely an option, but an absolute, compelling inevitability. You simply won't be able to not say it. Does that resonate deep within your bones? 3 messages that will change everything. All right. So here's what I profoundly believe is about to unfold. And this is the segment I truly want your undivided attention on, because I am convinced today is destined to be a pivotal hinge point in the very architecture of your life. The unique astrological configuration of this Mercury-Mars collision, with the uncompromising presence of Saturn standing right there, demanding accountability and consequence, essentially guarantees that the communications initiated or solidified around April 20th are going to carry immense long-term weight. These aren't throwaway comments, casual remarks, or ephemeral conversations. No, I believe these are definitive, foundational statements that will irrevocably alter your path forward, fundamentally reshaping your personal narrative. And from what I've been observing within the intricate cosmic tapestry of the astrology, there are three distinct, potent messages that are poised to emerge. Three profound levels of truth that are about to burst through the surface. And each one, in its own powerful way, is going to dramatically shift something massive in your world. Allow me to walk you through them, one by one. Message 1. The truth you tell yourself. The first message, the initial and arguably most critical one, is entirely internal. And honestly, I think this might be the single most important breakthrough of today, because before you can ever hope to communicate authentically and powerfully with anyone else in the external world, you must first achieve a brutal, unvarnished honesty with your own deepest self. Remember how both Mars and Mercury had to traverse the murky waters of Neptune in the weeks leading up to this very day? Neptune, the planet of fantasy, of subtle denial, of alluring escapism, and of all those soothing, comforting lies we so skillfully tell ourselves to avoid confronting raw pain or uncomfortable reality. It's not that bad. They'll definitely change. Eventually. I can absolutely make this work if I just try a little bit harder. This is fine. Everything is absolutely fine. But today, as Mercury and Mars make their explosive collision, with Saturn's unyielding gaze fixed upon them, that protective, self-deceptive fog gets completely, utterly obliterated. And suddenly, with shocking clarity, you're going to see the truth you've been so diligently, perhaps subconsciously, avoiding. That subtle, persistent internal voice that has been whispering inconvenient truths to you for months, perhaps even years. Today, it's going to become an undeniable, resonant shout. This first message is that brutal, uncompromising admission you made to yourself, that jarring, unvarnished reality check. It's the moment you acknowledge where you've been compromising your intrinsic sovereignty, where you've been meekly accepting substandard conditions in your life, where you've been relentlessly chasing a dream or a path that was never truly viable in the first place, or where you've been expertly lying to yourself about what you really desire, what your heart truly craves. And I'm not going to sugarcoat this for a second. This admission, this confrontation with your own truth, it might sting. It might even genuinely hurt, because Saturn, in its stark realism, doesn't particularly care about your feelings. Saturn cares about facts, about concrete reality, and sometimes those facts can be profoundly uncomfortable. But here's what I truly believe, with every fiber of my being. Once you courageously admit that truth to yourself, once you finally cease the endless rationalizing, the justifying, the making of excuses, you instantly reclaim a profound, intrinsic part of your power. That internal message is, you powerfully, irrevocably claiming the courage to accept your own deepest desires without a shred of guilt, to acknowledge what you actually need without feeling the slightest compulsion to apologize for it, to admit exactly where you've been stuck without shame or self-condemnation. And once that internal, unshakable foundation is firmly set, then, and only then, does everything else, every external shift, every courageous action, become truly possible. If you've been feeling that relentless internal pressure building, that insistent voice growing louder, that undeniable truth demanding to be acknowledged, today is the day you finally, emphatically stop running from it. And honestly, that's when the real, deep, transformative journey truly begins. Message 2. The boundary you finally set. The second message is outward-facing, directed squarely at others. And this one, I predict, is likely to be the most confrontational, the most direct. Cast your mind back to that full moon in Libra on April 1st. Libra, the sign of partnership, of delicate balance, of diplomatic negotiation. That full moon, like a celestial spotlight, illuminated with startling precision exactly where your relationships, be they romantic, professional, or platonic, have become profoundly imbalanced. It showed you where you've been pouring your entire being into another, giving everything and receiving a paltry nothing in return. It highlighted where you've consistently played the role of the benevolent peacekeeper, often at the profound expense of your own well-being, your own needs, your own sanity. It exposed where someone else has been expertly, perhaps even unknowingly, taking advantage of your endless accommodation, your boundless generosity. For the first 2 weeks of April, that sharp awareness has been steadily building within you. The pressure, the internal tension, has been relentlessly mounting. The quiet resentment, like a slow-burning fire, has been accumulating in the background. Yet, you haven't uttered a single word, have you? Because Libra, in its very essence, craves harmony above all else. Libra desperately wants everyone to get along, to exist in a state of agreeable equilibrium. Libra will willingly, even painfully, sacrifice its own fundamental needs to maintain that precarious peace. But today, when the assertive, uncompromising energy of Mercury and Mars fuses together in Aries, that ingrained diplomacy, that natural inclination to soften and appease, it evaporates. Aries simply doesn't care about being polite. Aries doesn't bother to soften the truth, to make it more palatable or easier for others to swallow. Aries says precisely what needs to be said, directly, bluntly, powerfully, and without a shred of apology. So, the second message, the one that's about to burst forth, is the absolute boundary. It's the definitive line in the sand. It's the non-negotiable statement, articulated with unwavering conviction, of what you will no longer tolerate, what you will no longer accept, what you will no longer allow. And, crucially, because Saturn is intimately involved in this powerful conjunction, this isn't an idle bluff. This isn't an empty threat, a temporary emotional outburst. This is a binding, undeniable reality check, imbued with the weight of consequence. You are going to tell someone, likely someone intimately close to you, someone within a primary partnership or a crucial collaboration, exactly what fundamental shifts are required, what non-negotiable changes absolutely must occur. And you are going to mean it. No more subtle hints, no more wistful hoping they'll magically figure it out on their own. No more patiently waiting for them to read between the lines of your silence. You're going to spell it out, with an almost chilling crystal clarity. And here's what lends this message: its incredible, transformative power. You're going to demand that their words, their assurances, be demonstrably backed by concrete action. Saturn, the cosmic disciplinarian, demands proof. Saturn requires tangible, verifiable, undeniable change. So if the person on the receiving end of your profoundly important message cannot or will not meet the new non-negotiable standards you are now setting, I believe that relationship is going to conclude swiftly, cleanly, perhaps even abruptly, without the usual months of agonizing dragging it out, the slow, painful bleed. This message changes everything because it relentlessly forces the relationship into an unambiguous binary state: evolve or dissolve, or dissolve. And honestly, either outcome is ultimately a profound win for you. Because either you finally receive the respect, the reciprocity, the equilibrium you so rightfully deserve, or you courageously liberate yourself from a dynamic that was insidiously draining your life force, leaving you depleted and diminished. Right? If you've been meticulously rehearsing a difficult, heart-wrenching conversation in your head for weeks, playing out every possible scenario, today is, unequivocally, when you're going to have it. And yes, it's going to be intense, but I genuinely believe it is profoundly necessary. Message 3. the declaration you make to the world. The third message, the grand finale, is the big one. This is the truth, the proclamation that's directed at the macrocosm, your career, your public role, your established place within the larger structures and systems of society. Saturn, as we know, is the venerable planet that governs authority figures, hierarchical structures, professional frameworks, and your fundamental relationship with the establishment itself. And when Saturn is so profoundly involved in this potent conjunction, it signifies that your career path, your public identity, and your overarching professional trajectory are currently undergoing a massive, uncompromising test. So, the third message is nothing less than your sovereign declaration of independence. It's the fearless, unapologetic announcement of a radically new, profoundly authentic direction for your life's work. It's the aggressive, assertive challenging of an oppressive authority figure or a stifling system that has long held you captive. It's you bravely stepping into the full glare of the light, claiming your rightful place, unapologetically, defiantly. For some of you, this will dramatically manifest as a sudden, liberating resignation from a soul-crushing job that has been suffocating your spirit. For others, it's the long-awaited public launch of an independent venture, a passion project you've been meticulously planning and nurturing in secret, away from prying eyes. For some, it's a public, unequivocal demand for recognition, for fairness, for autonomy that you've been unjustly denied, patiently waiting for. And for still others, it's the powerful, definitive moment you finally say an emphatic no to the crushing weight of expectations that were never, ever yours to carry in the first place. The combined, explosive energy of Mercury and Mars ensures that when you make this declaration, you will be utterly persuasive, compelling, and frankly, impossible to ignore. This isn't a meek request or an apologetic plea. No. This is confident, assertive, and backed by an absolute, unshakable conviction that emanates from your very core. And here's what's so incredibly important to understand about this particular message. It isn't just words casually thrown into the void, destined to be forgotten. Because this declaration is forged in Saturn's unyielding crucible, it operates as a binding contract with your own destiny. Once you speak this profound truth, you cannot unspeak it. Once you perceive this new reality, you cannot unsee it. You have committed to an entirely new path, an authentic trajectory, and that profound commitment is going to demand discipline, require immense hard work, and necessitate slow, grinding, often arduous progress. Saturn doesn't promise easy, instantaneous success. But what it does promise, with absolute certainty, is that if you remain steadfast, if you stay the course, you will ultimately build something solid, something lasting, something authentically, irrevocably your own. This message changes everything because it permanently, powerfully aligns your external reality with your deepest internal truth. You are no longer performing a prescribed role someone else meticulously wrote for you. You are, finally, authoring your own epic story. And yes, that's simultaneously terrifying and exhilarating, isn't it? If you've been feeling that undeniable burning urge to make a bold, decisive move, to take a massive, perhaps terrifying risk, to finally stand up and claim what is unequivocally yours. Today is when that urge transcends mere thought and explodes into tangible action. And honestly, I believe for a great many people, there truly is no going back after this. What today is actually going to feel like. Okay, let's bring this down to earth for a moment, because I think it's absolutely vital for you to understand the practical, tangible experience of what you're likely to encounter today. First, your mind is going to be incredibly sharp. I mean, razor sharp. Thoughts will race through your intellect with astonishing speed, and words, precise and potent, will come to you with an almost effortless ease. If you've been needing to have a particularly difficult conversation, to craft an important, impactful email, or to articulate something profoundly complex and nuanced, today is actually an exceptionally powerful day for it. Your mental clarity is poised to be absolutely off the charts. But here's the shadow side, and I need to be transparent and honest about this potential pitfall. There's also a palpable risk of mental aggression. Because your thoughts are moving with such lightning speed, and your confidence, fueled by this potent energy, is so incredibly high, it's remarkably easy to jump to hasty conclusions. It's easy to utter something cutting, something sharply incisive, without adequately considering its full impact on others. It's easy to, perhaps unconsciously, weaponize your newfound intellectual prowess and wield words like a finely honed blade. So, if you are going to speak your truth today, and please, I genuinely mean this, take a profound, deliberate breath first. Ensure that what you're about to articulate is truly originating from that crystal gazer's clarity, that place of objective truth, and not merely from reactive anger or impulsive frustration. Because while Saturn is present to provide discipline and structure, Mars, in its rawest form, can be intensely impulsive. The ultimate goal here is to speak with unwavering courage and surgical precision, not to carelessly burn everything down simply because you now possess the power to do so. Second, you might feel an almost unbearable restlessness. Mars in Aries craves movement. It demands action. It yearns to do something, anything. So, attempting to sit still today might feel almost physically impossible, like trying to contain an explosion. If you can, actively channel that surging energy into something productive, rigorous physical exercise, finally tackling that significant project you've been procrastinating on, or confronting a long-standing challenge head-on. But whatever you do, don't allow that potent energy to consume you in a whirlpool of unproductive frustration. Move it. Use it. Third, and this is truly important for navigating your day, pay exceptionally close attention to how other people are behaving. Remember, everyone is operating under the influence of this powerful cosmic alignment, not just you. So, you might very well encounter individuals who are unusually aggressive, surprisingly confrontational, or shockingly blunt today. Tempers, universally, are likely to be short. Patience, universally, is likely to be razor-thin. Arguments, even minor disagreements, can escalate with alarming rapidity. If someone approaches you with an intense, almost combative energy today, remember this crucial insight. It's most likely not personal. They are simply channeling the very same potent energy you are, albeit perhaps less consciously or skillfully. And you get to choose how you respond. You can meet their aggression with an equal measure of your own, or you can consciously hold your center, remain grounded, and speak your truth calmly, clearly, and courageously. The second option is almost invariably the wiser, more empowering choice. This isn't just about today. This is a turning point. Here's the profound insight I truly want you to grasp, a fundamental truth I believe many people often overlook about the intricate dance of astrology. Today isn't merely a random, fleeting cosmic event that sweeps through and then silently fades into the ether, leaving no trace. No, the words you courageously speak today, the undeniable truths you finally acknowledge, the firm boundaries you definitively set, the declarations you boldly make to the world, they are going to ripple forward, reverberating through your life long after this particular astrological alignment has passed. This is not just a day, this is a hinge point, a seismic before and after moment. The version of you that existed before April 20th and the version that emerges after might very well feel like two entirely distinct individuals. Because once you articulate certain truths, once those words are spoken aloud, you cannot unhear them. Once you establish certain boundaries, you cannot pretend they don't exist, cannot retract them without profound internal compromise. Once you truly claim your sovereignty, your inherent power, you cannot, by any stretch of the imagination, simply go back to being small, to being less than who you truly are. And yes, I understand that sounds incredibly intense. I know it might even feel genuinely scary, stirring up a primal fear of the unknown. But here's what I truly, deeply believe. This is happening for you, not to you. Not to you. The universe isn't orchestrating these challenging conversations, isn't forcing these confrontations to punish you. Quite the opposite, my friend. It is liberating you. For the past few weeks, perhaps even months, you've been trapped in a suffocating fog, stuck in a debilitating confusion, entangled in relationships, locked into jobs, or mired in patterns that simply no longer fit the powerful, authentic individual you are rapidly becoming. Today is the day when that thick, obscuring fog finally, unequivocally lifts. Today is when you see clearly, with an undeniable, unvarnished vision. And when you see clearly, when the path ahead is illuminated, you are fundamentally compelled to act on what you perceive. There is simply no going back to sleep once you have truly, fully woken up. So, if you've been dreading today, feeling a knot of anxiety in your stomach, I want you to consciously, deliberately shift your perspective. Do not perceive this as something you merely need to survive, to grit your teeth and get through. Instead, see it as something powerful, to harness, to wield, to consciously engage with. This is your moment to speak up, to step forward with courage, to definitively claim what is rightfully, unequivocally yours. The courage you've been patiently waiting for, perhaps for a lifetime, it is arriving today. And honestly, I think that's not just a challenge, it's a profound, undeniable gift. One more thing you need to know. Before I bring this to a close, there's one more crucial piece of information I believe you absolutely should be aware of. Today isn't solely about your personal transformation, your individual shifts. This powerful, explosive energy is reverberating and rippling through the entire collective consciousness, through the very fabric of our global society. And that means we are likely to witness some profoundly intense events unfolding on the world stage too. When Mars, Mercury, and Saturn all converge, all collide within the audacious confrontational sign of Aries, a sign historically associated with war and aggression. It typically correlates with a surge in confrontational political rhetoric, aggressive diplomatic maneuvers, and what I would succinctly call a war of messaging. Expect to witness a proliferation of inflammatory statements, public conflicts erupting into the open, and information itself being weaponized, used as a strategic tool. The news cycle today might be particularly charged, intensely dramatic, and perhaps even deliberately provocative. There is also a palpable risk of widespread misinformation and cunning manipulation. Neptune was deeply involved in this weeks-long build-up, remember? So while some individuals and entities will courageously utilize this potent energy to cut through illusion and boldly speak truth to power others, unfortunately might cunningly employ it to deploy sophisticated propaganda to spread confusion, or to engineer narratives that serve their own agendas. Be profoundly discerning about what you choose to believe today. Not everything you hear, read, or see is going to be accurate, objective, or truthful. And honestly, that is precisely why your personal clarity, your inner compass, is so incredibly important right now. When the collective feels chaotic, when the world seems unstable and unpredictable, the awakened ones, the conscious ones, stay grounded. You hold your unwavering center. You know your truth, and you speak it calmly, clearly, courageously. See final thoughts. All right. If you're still here with me, if you've journeyed through this entire message, thank you so much for staying. I know this was a lot of information, a deep dive, but I genuinely felt an urgent need for you to understand the full, intricate picture of what is truly happening today. Today, April 20th, is the momentous day when Mercury and Mars, fueled by the discipline of Saturn, make their explosive collision in the courageous sign of Aries. And I truly, genuinely believe this is the precise moment you will find the unwavering courage to finally, unequivocally say what desperately needs to be said. The three messages: the profound truth to yourself, the unshakable boundary to others, and the bold declaration to the world. They are all waiting, poised, ready to emerge from within you. And once they do, everything truly, irrevocably changes. You are not imagining the intense pressure you've been feeling. You are not fabricating the frustration, the simmering resentment. You are not wrong for wanting things to be profoundly different, to align with your deepest truth. You have been building toward this watershed moment for weeks, for months, and today, finally, is when it all comes pouring out. So, my most sincere advice to you is this: trust yourself. Trust the profound clarity that is now illuminating your path. Trust the fierce courage that is rising within your spirit. And when that moment arrives, when the impulse to speak your truth becomes undeniable, speak it boldly, speak it clearly, and speak it without a single apology. If this message resonated deep within your soul, if it ignited something powerful inside you, and you wish to see more content like this, I would truly appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button. And please, I genuinely want to hear from you. Drop your experiences, your insights, your personal revelations in the comments below. Tell me if you've been feeling this intense build-up. Tell me what powerful message you believe you need to deliver today. We're all navigating this powerful cosmic current together, and I truly believe there is immense power, immense liberation in sharing our stories, in bearing witness to each other's courage. Take exceptionally good care of yourself today. Be brave. And I'll see you in the next one.